Namaste everyone, Charlie here, founder of Indiv Yoga, and today we're going to be doing a standing yoga pose flow. So this is really great for overall strength and flexibility, but it's good to do after you've already warmed up the body. So if it's first thing in the morning or your body is a bit cold, click onto my short basic sun salutation video just to get it warmed up and getting us ready for this. So as always, I want you to listen to your body. If at any point your breath or your heartbeat gets a bit too fast, just come down onto the mat into child's pose or sitting and just give yourself a bit of time for the breath and the heart to come back to their natural rhythms. And I'd like you to make this your own moving meditation. So really pushing away any distractions around you, any sounds or smells. Anytime a thought comes into the mind, again, acknowledge it, push it away, and keep coming back to your breath throughout the practice and to the sensations in the body, where you can feel the muscles working or stretching, and just really making this a mindful practice for yourself. So we're going to start in the most important standing yoga pose, Tadasana, our mountain pose. And this isn't just to be done in our yoga classes. This is a pose to be bearing in mind all throughout the day. Whenever you find yourself standing still, then just making sure that first of all, you're weighting down equally on the three corners, as we say, of the foot. So that's the ball of the foot at the front, either side, and the heel at the back. And you can test this just by lifting the toes and rocking a little bit forwards and back and side to side, and just really making sure that you're weighting down equally. And this is important because weighting on the heels a little bit more can have significant effect on tension in the lower back, and you can get problems also from putting the weight on the front of the feet. So we want them nice and equal, either together at the front of the mat or a little bit apart if that's more comfortable for you today, maintaining the integrity of the ankle with the knees. So the foot is nice and straight and one of them isn't veering off in the other direction. So we're going to start our standing poses, going through half of a sun salutation and coming into the poses from there. So at the front of the mat, with your equal weight distribution through both feet, we want to engage up through the knees and the thighs. Engage the core muscles just by tilting the tailbone down a bit, so you feel a little bit more length through the lower back and the muscles in the abdominals engaging. Allow the shoulders to roll back and down, the hands to slightly rotate forwards, and dropping the chin a little bit just so that there's no creases in the back of the neck. And just give yourself a little bit of time here to take a few breaths, center yourself in your yoga space and feel yourself lifting up that little bit taller through the crown of the head. On the next inhale, we're going to stretch our arms up and exhale into our forward fold. Inhaling, stepping back with the right and the left into our plank position, and exhaling to lower, either all the way down or parallel to come up for your back bend, cobra or upward dog, exhaling into your downward facing dog. Okay, from here we're going to come into our next standing pose, Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1, by stepping the right foot forwards in between the hands and turning the left foot 45 degrees. Now the front knee is bent 90 degrees directly over the ankle, and make sure that it doesn't veer inwards or outwards, that it stays facing straight. The back foot needs to step out a little bit so that you can twist the hips all the way forward. So you need the feet at hips distance apart and really squaring those hips to the front of the mat. This is an internal hip rotation, not an external like Warrior 2. And the back foot is moving with the hips at about 45 degrees. Palms can be together here, or if the shoulders are a bit tight, perhaps a bit apart. If the shoulders are really a bit sore today, you can lower the elbows, lower than the shoulders, just keeping the chest nice and open. And breathe. Really feel the left little toe grounding into the mat and that energy coming all the way up through the left leg and into that right knee. Nice long stance, keeping that knee facing forwards and making sure that it stays over the ankle. Give yourself one more breath here, and then we're going to lower the hands back to the mat to step back into our down. Feel free here to give each knee a bit of a bend if you feel you need to neutralize through the backs of the legs, always checking your alignment when you come back into your downward dog. And then the other side, stepping the left foot forwards and turning the right foot 45 degrees, keeping that left knee over the ankle, facing forwards and not slightly falling inwards. Most important, facing to the front, really square to the front of the mat for your internal hip rotation, and lifting the hands, palms up, apart, or nice open chest with the elbows out. Really feeling that right little toe grounding into the mat and that energy streaming all the way forwards into that knee. Couple more deep breaths, strong legs, nice open chest growing tall through the crown of the head. Nice big inhale, and on the exhale, lowering the hands and stepping yourself back into your downward facing dog and giving yourself a couple of breaths here. Really feeling the stretch from your hands as they root into the mat, up through straight arms, down through the heels and the chest. Rotating those elbows outwards, keeping the arms nice and straight. Now going to come into our warrior two position. So stepping the right foot forwards in between the hands. This time we're turning the left foot 90 degrees, and for this one we want the heels in line, not at hips distance apart, because this is an external hip rotation. So the hips and the chest are facing to the side wall. And we're going to raise the arms up here, making sure that they're at shoulder height. Just give them a little check. And again, that knee stays over the ankle and doesn't veer inwards or outwards. And we want to really establish this position here because we're going to be using it for the next few poses, not letting the legs move. So we're then going to lower the left arm onto the back leg and curl the right one over the head. Tendency here is for the knee to come back with the movement. Keep it over the ankle and just make sure that the left hand isn't pressing into the back of the left knee. But it's just resting there, really feeling the stretch through the right side of the torso. And then we're going to inhale and come back up, and we're going to straighten that leg. For Trikonasana, our triangle pose. So here we're not just bending the arm down, we're doing a lateral stretch first, extending the right hand forwards as far as you can, and then letting it drop wherever it reaches without compromising the hip and letting it curl forward. So maintain the hip and the chest facing to the side and raising the left arm up in line with the other. And if the hand doesn't reach the floor, perhaps it's on the foot or the ankle, even further up. Make sure that you're not twisting that hip inwards, and if that starts to happen, you might just need to bring the hand a little bit further up. On an inhale, we're going to raise ourselves up. Exhale, bend the front knee again, twisting the left foot to the back wall as we drop the hands and press ourselves back into our downward facing dog. Lovely. Other side, stepping the left foot forwards and coming up into your Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2 pose. Heels are aligned. Left leg now is 90 degrees. Knee over the ankle, making sure that that knee doesn't fall in or outwards. Grow nice and tall. Your focal point for your eyes can be your right middle finger if you like. Keeping the legs exactly as they are, we're going to drop the right arm and curl the left one over. You can be looking up if you like, but if it's more comfortable for the neck, perhaps you want to look down at the right toes. One more breath here, and then inhale, coming up and straightening the left leg for our Trikonasana triangle pose. So once again, pull those fingers as far forward as you can. Nice lateral stretch, and exhale, dropping the hand wherever it reaches without letting the chest or the hip curl inwards. Nice open chest, pulling that right shoulder back. Eyes can be looking up at the right fingertips or down to the floor if that's more comfortable for you. Breathing into your pose. And inhaling, coming back up. And this time we're going to turn the left foot to face the side of the mat. We're going to come into our standing spread leg forward fold. So for this Prasarita Padottanasana pose, we want to make sure that the heels are in line. Legs are as far open as they can be without letting the knees begin to bend or shake. If they begin to do that, bring the feet a little bit closer. And we want the big toes just coming in ever so slightly to protect the tendons in the knees. So a couple of stages here. I'm going to show you the full expression of the pose. We're going to inhale the arms up, and we're going to exhale, forward fold, flat back, and take the hands in line with the feet, bending the elbows back and stretching the head down towards the floor. Now, if you can't reach the floor, that's absolutely fine. You can bring the hands onto the legs, even up onto the thighs, or onto the hips, maintaining that straight back of the head. Remember, if the legs start to bend or shake, very important to bring them a little bit closer together. So wherever you are, just breathing into your pose, allowing the weight to fall very slightly forwards on the feet so that you can get even more length. Walking the hands back if they're on the floor, and just really getting a good stretch. And then inhale, gently coming up, hands on the hips. Give the knees a little bit of a bend to release any tension there, and come in, heel, toes, heel, toes. And feel free to give them a little bend or a shake if you need to. Okay, from our Tadasana position at the front of our mat again, we're going to come into 3 leg balances. We're going to start with Vrikrasana, our tree pose. So taking your weight onto your right leg, my left leg, so I'm going to mirror you. I'm going to press the hands together at the chest just to increase our core stability there and help us balance in the pose. And we're going to take the left foot anywhere just off the floor, if you can, against the inner side of the right leg. Taking it up, if you can, nice open hip and knee. Make sure that you don't press against the knee here, either below or above it. And wherever you're comfortable today, having slippy trousers doesn't really help. Pressing the hands together. You can either raise them up, out, open elbows, or even at the chest. And these were the wrong trousers to wear because my foot's slipping down. Fix your eyes on a point. Make sure to keep breathing. One more breath, making sure the toes aren't gripping the mat, and then release down. Give yourself a little bit of a shake. Okay, see how you feel on the other side. There's always one side on any given day that's feeling a little bit easier to balance on. Excuse me. We want to make sure that our toes aren't gripping the mat, nice and strong up through the standing leg, and see where you feel comfortable today. Perhaps this knee or hip is a little bit more or less flexible today, so perhaps it will reach higher. Remember, each side isn't necessarily going to be the same. Your poses aren't going to be the same perhaps as they were yesterday. Just really listen to the body. See where you're comfortable. Fix your eyes on a point and breathe. Lovely, growing nice and tall, strong through that standing leg. Last big breath. And then releasing back down. Lovely. Okay, we've just been doing a hip opener. Let's do one in the opposite direction and come into Garudasana, our eagle pose. So, two ways that we can have the hands or the arms. Just pressing at the chest to make this a little bit easier, or you can cross the right elbow under the left and bring the hands together, or maybe they're just back to back today. If you're here, you want to be lifting the arms up, pushing them outwards for a really good stretch across the shoulders. So we want to set the arms first, wherever you're comfortable today, and bend down on both knees, taking the weight onto the right foot again, or right leg. We're going to take the left one, and this is stage one, just having the foot over the thigh. Next is thigh to thigh, and if comfortable doing so, wrapping the foot all the way around. Now keep engaging those core muscles, tucking the pelvis down to help stabilize you in this pose. Finding your drishti point, your focal point for your eyes, breathing into the pose without gripping the mat with the standing toes. We want to unwrap the legs first here, very importantly, and then the arms, and give yourself other side. Perhaps this shoulder's a little bit more flexible, so perhaps you can get into the full eagle arms. Fixing your eyes on your point, see where you're at with your legs on this side. Either foot to thigh, thigh to thigh, or perhaps you can wrap all the way around on this side. Tuck that pelvis down so you're engaging the core muscles for stability. Keep breathing. Lowering down even further if you can. Gently releasing the legs first, and then the arms. Wonderful. Okay, last one of our standing poses. We're going to do Virabhadrasana 3, so Warrior 3. So starting at the front of the mat again, taking the hands together at the chest and just pressing them in a little bit here, especially if you're a beginner in this pose. It's going to make it easier if you keep the hands here. Otherwise, you can extend them forwards in the pose, out, or even behind you, otherwise known as the aeroplane pose, usually in kids yoga. So we're going to take the left toes behind and imagine an invisible line from about 2 meters in front of you, going all the way to your right big toe. And we're going to follow that line, inhaling, growing nice and tall through the crown of the head. Keep a straight line between the toe and the crown of the head as you exhale and begin taking yourself forwards, not down. Think of yourself as extending forwards. Now perhaps you're just a centimetre off the floor, and that's absolutely fine. You want to be here, keeping that straight line, as opposed to letting the back lower down or the chest lower. So wherever you're at today, coming into the full expression of the pose, you take yourself into a T position, nice and horizontal, keeping that left hip down. You don't want to see it open up, nice and parallel to the floor. And then when you're ready, gently releasing. And then the other side, grounding the left leg down, extending the right big toes. Nice big inhale, finding length from the crown of the head all the way out through that big toe. And as you exhale, taking yourself forwards, not down. Feel that length. And breathe. Perhaps your big toe is your focal point for your eyes. Make sure the chest is lifted, nice and open. And perhaps on this side, you're just a centimetre off the mat. Again, keep that length. Make sure that the chest isn't tipping. So wherever you can come to, set the leg height and then raise the chest and keep that lovely straight line between the toe and the crown of the head. And then gently release, lovely, and feel free to give your legs a bit of a shake and a bend. I hope you enjoyed that. Click onto one of my other videos and continue to stay.